Also contributed a national level network project on plant borers involving 32 centers across the country. And he is honored with several awards and the prestigious fellowships like the United Nations University postdoctoral fellowship at Tokyo, the Japan, and fellow of Royal Entomological Society, London, UK, and a fellow of the ASRA, the Bhubaneswar, India, and Dr. B. Vasantraj David Outstanding Award, the fellow of Confederation of Horticultural Association of India, New Delhi. And he has published about 70 research papers in the peer-reviewed journals and authored several chapters in the popular articles. He is also serving as the scientific community as a chief editor of the journal, the Pest Management and Horticultural Ecosystem, for the last 12 years. And Dr. Reddy has about 70 research papers in the peer-reviewed journals and recognized as a faculty of IRI, New Delhi, US, Bengaluru, UHS Bagalkot, and Dr. YSR Horticulture University, Andhra Pradesh. So welcome to the program, sir, and you can take the charge for the further proceedings, sir. Please welcome to the program. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, all, and all the respected officials of the UHS be there, and all the fellow speakers and participants. Today I will be speaking on pest management situation in mango. Whether my slides are shared, are you able to see?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir. Not yet.
Huh?
Not shared.
Share screen. Share the screen.
You are not seeing?
You have to share. We are not able to see. Yeah,
no?
Now we got it. Yes.
Put it on slide mode, sir.
Yeah, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah, first of all, I would like to immensely thank the Dean and other organizing committee of this national level virtual seminar for having given me this opportunity to share my experience of working in this mango entomology, especially mango pest management. Today, I will be dealing with what are the mango pest management situation presently, and what are the major pests and what are the pests that are going to have the potential to become the major insect pests in the future, and what work we have been doing in this different. Now, I would like to straight away jump into the topic. I don't want to give any mango introduction because now we know we are having an exclusive national seminar, means mango is an important crop. That's why we are all here. So mango, all evergreen crops. So that's why it attracts a lot of herbivorous insects and also mites. And there are several hundreds of more than 400 pests are recorded. And in India itself, nearly 180 pests are recorded. But however, our interest will be very few which really matter and which cause the economic damage. And of late, there has been a shift, in the pest status of this mango. And what we used to think as some time back, some major pests or minor pests, they're changing. And we attribute these factors to many changes in climate as well as intensive cultivation. And also now, earlier mango crop used to be like a 10 meter by 10 meter and some mix of varieties. Now there is a monoculture and some single varieties expanding over the large areas. And also compared to previous years, there is a lot of insecticidal pressure, and farmers are also resorting to some mixture of pesticides. So all these factors will contribute to this change in pest status. If we take the mango crop, for example, Phenolized, since it is a perennial, different stage attracts different types of insect pests. If we take, for example, flowering time, this is the most crucial since it is a highly seasonal crop, and if we can't manage pests at this stage, and we will almost lose the crop. So at the flowering, these are the major limiting factors in the mango production, the insect pests that attack. Especially most of you are aware, leaf hoppers are the major problem, and followed by thrips. And then some blossom webbers and caterpillars. These are becoming recently serious problem. And some areas we may get blossom mid. These are the flowering stage pests. Then fruiting. Mango fruit stage pest, majority of people are aware of the fruit fly and stone weevil. And this is the major pest. And of late, we are also getting fruit borers. Generally, mango was compared to other crops, it was free from borers. But now we are also getting fruit borers on mango. It is a worrisome thing. Then in vegetative stage, you get leaf webber, leaf hopper. This leaf hopper, some species come at vegetative phase also. And shoot borer, mealybug, scales, and mites. So this vegetative phase, if you take some appropriate measures, we can easily manage the pest in their peak time and the fruiting time. Then there are some pests, irrespective of the stage, they persist. And especially in that is the major is the stem borer. And stem borer we will be dealing later. This is also a very important pest. Then next, some termites, some neglected orchards you may get. So these are some glimpse of the pest scenario. And besides this, there may be pests, some sporadic pests or occasional now and then. So these are actually the major pests which we need to implement the management measures. So now I would just like to deal with some major pests. And mango leaf hoppers, we can easily say this is the #1 pest of the mango. And there are many species of these leaf hoppers. And you may be knowing, and this mainly Idioscopus and Amlitodes are the major genera. And if we take across the country, the occurrence of species is different in different places. For example, this Amlitodes atkinsoni, this is actually biggest of all the hoppers, and it occurs mainly in North India. Whereas this Idioscopus species we find in South India, especially in Karnataka and our south species, southern states, this Idioscopus nitidulus is the major dominating species. And also we get Nagpurensis. Then besides this, there is another species called Amarasca splendens. This comes in the mainly vegetative. You might have seen many times this new flush giving some burn type. Tree will give some hopper burn, typical hopper burn symptoms. So this is due to this Amarasca. This Amarasca genus comes on Bendy also. So this is a different hopper species. So these hoppers are mainly host specific, means they have mango only their solo host. And so it is easy also, difficult also to manage them. And especially for them, even off season and their diaper stage and all, we need to manage. Then this, if we know the occurrence of these species at different months and different phenological, during our studies, what we found, these are the studies conducted mainly in the Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, Chittoor and Bengaluru sites over 3-4 years. What we found is, especially nitidulus, we get mainly peak is during flowering, and of course it do come in some vegetative phase. However, this splendens is confined only to the vegetative phase, and Nagpurensis also mainly in the flowering period. So here we need to have management interventions when we take the population dynamics, starting from December, January. Of course, some minor changes may be there area to area depending on the flowering period. For example, this North India, Lucknow region and all, flowering starts late, and Konkan region, sometimes it will be a bit early. So depending on the flower initiation stage, we need to have management measures. Then this nature of damage, these hoppers, mostly these nymphs and adults suck the sap, and they are the phloem feeders. So they take juice sap from this inflorescence and young shoots, and they cause this burning and drying symptoms. Especially their indirect damage is, besides their direct damage as feeders, they excrete this honeydew, just like many of these Homoptera insects. Since they take the phloem, which is rich in sugars, so they need to excrete these extra sugars as a honeydew. So this honeydew, when it falls on this foliage or fruit or any plant surface, since it attracts a fungus, that is sooty mold, which forms a black coating. So it will affect the photosynthetic efficiency, and also if it comes on the fruits, the marketing value also will go down. And these hoppers have the potential to cause even more than 80 to 90%. And we need to manage them at the flower initiation stage. So some of the works, for example, whether there is any scope for this exploiting this host plant resistance for this particular pest, though so far there are no specific variety bred for the resistance to any particular pest or disease in mango, as far as my knowledge goes. There is a chance to make use of the available germplasm which have the potential and which are least susceptible. So more than 200 genotype germplasm accessions available at our institute were screened for this hopper. And among them, we found some were showing the least susceptibility based on the, this is only field level screening based on the hopper population. Then there was also some correlation between this hopper incidence and the plant and inflorescence morphology. For example, dense panicles are having higher infestation, and however, there is no correlation with the panicle color. So it gives an indication what are the features we may look into while targeting, if at all, any biotic stress resistance breeding. When it comes to management, this pruning and orchard sanitation are very important. Generally, when there is a dense planting, the hopper incidence is prone to be more. So especially now the trend is towards the high density planting. So these hopper management becomes all the more important, and we need to have a check because the higher the tree density, more the hopper incidence. So for that, we can go for yellow sticky traps to just monitor the occurrence of the hopper and start the management. And we need not at a straight point of view jump into this insecticidal spray. Depending on the intensity of this hopper, we can have, for example, at low density, when there is a less than 2 hopper constants, we can try with non-chemical means like azadirachtin, or even our IHR, we have a neem soap formulation. These things can be applied. However, when there is an endemic area and hoppers are bound to happen and the incidence is going more, we may have to go for these synthetic chemicals, 1 or 2 sprays, and these are the recommended chemicals. So what I have given here, imidacloprid, lambda-cyhalothrin or thiamethoxam. And besides this, we now, of late, we found through our experiments as well as some literature available, these biopesticides, especially entomopathogenic fungi, is having a good scope for the management of these hoppers, especially this Metarhizium anisopliae. Our institute has come out with one liquid oil-based formulation, and this is now under the almost ready for this CIBRC recommendation. We are the final phase of generating toxicological data. So this is has a good scope, and even experiments at different ACRP fruit centers also have given very encouraging results. Besides this, we can also conserve these natural enemies, which can exercise some natural control. And before moving on to next, there is some caution, because during survey of some farmers' field, what we observed, some private companies or somebody are selling many of these yellow sticky traps as a control means farmers are tying them nearly 10s and 20s, almost some orchards almost 1 trap to each tree. So see, the idea here is this sticky trap cannot be a control aid. Means just by having more sticky traps, you cannot control the hoppers. And unlike other places or in polyhouses, here especially, this pest coincides with the flowering period. And mango, is an entomophilic crop, and cross pollination is essential. So what we observed when we keenly checked these sticky traps, there are many non-target insects, and majority of them pollinators and natural enemies getting stuck. So use these sticky traps only as a monitoring tools and not just for using any mass trapping, and it will not help in management. And moreover, it will be destructive to the beneficial insects, because in nature these pollinators and natural enemies are very, very far less in number compared to the hoppers. So even if you kill a small portion of them, we are causing damage to our crop pollination and other environment. So this is about the hoppers. Then when we come to the next important pest in mango, that is a fruit fly. Actually, fruit fly, many times what happens, fruit fly is a pest. Farmers don't realize that fruit fly damage is there in their field, unlike other pests, because fruit fly damage occurs at the later stage of the fruiting, and many times either consumer or a pulp industry person or and the last leg only it is realized that fruit fly damage is there. You know, fruit fly, the importance of the fruit fly, it is a quarantine importance. Because of this Bactrocerat dorsalis, oriental fruit fly, many countries earlier there was a ban of mango exports from India, and due to concerted efforts of several ICR institutes and the SAUs and a lot of data generated, this export ban was lifted, and now they are allowed with some specific regulations. So that way this fruit fly is a very important pest for both domestic as well as export market, because they lay egg on the matured fruits, and once from the maggots which you are seeing, they enter and they feed on this pulp, causing rotting, and also sometimes even fruit dropping is also happens. So this fruit fly we need to manage, and here unlike other pests, since fruit flies fly across many orchards, and there is always area-wide management is more effective in case of fruit fly. As our experience showed, IHR was always a lead organization in having this IPM of this fruit fly, especially through male annihilation technique as well as crop sanitation. So we need to have, this is one of the successful IPM module of insect pests, where the fruit fly population and incidence was brought down to very negligible level by following different components. Especially main among them is the male annihilation technique, that is methyl-eugenol traps. By erecting around 6 to 8 traps per acre, and we can bring down. But here the word of caution is, many times farmers feel just having a trap is enough, their job is done. So we need to educate them that the what we get into traps is only male flies, not the female. So to control female, there are other methods. First, we need to have a very small and easy to do is the collection and destruction of the fallen fruits, because many times fallen fruits attack more fruit flies and they work serve as a breeding ground. Then second is bait splash. This bait splash is by mixing this jaggery solution along with an insecticide, and you have to splash it on a tree trunk or the branches and 2 to 3 times, and they see that it should not be sprayed or splashed on the fruits. In fact, if you are splashing on fruits, you are doing the more damage than the use. So we need to strictly use it to spray it on a trunk. Then if at all there is a need to, by doing this, we can reduce fruit fly incidence more than 90%. And if at all in endemic areas on the matured fruits, we can go for with one neem-based spray, that is azadirachtin, and we can control this fruit fly. As I suggested, it's always better because just having one farmer erecting a trap does not help. And if an area where over the mango area, these traps are erected, then only it will be more effective. Then besides this pre-harvest management, post-harvest management is also sometimes essential and is also desirable, especially hot water treatment. Most of you must be aware, and here also again IHR has standardized a long back this treatment in the fruits of at 48 plus or minus 1 degree centigrade, and this will help for the small farmers groups or at cooperative society level. It can be done. It is a prototype unit is available, and our institute has the technology to erect this hot water treatment. Then next, my previous speaker was mentioning the vapor hot treatment for this spongy, and especially for fruit fly also, Europe and Japan, this is the mandatory. So fruits must be exposed to this vapor heat treatment to kill the eggs of all this fruit fly pest. Then for US market, the another requirement is the irradiation. Exposing the fruits to the gamma radiation. Now the 400 gray fruit should be exposed. This facility, I think it is in Maharashtra near Mumbai, this facility has been there. And for US market, irradiation is must. So farmers should be made aware of this requirements for export. And now there is another concept, sterile insect technique, though it is not come into practice, but we, in collaboration with Bhabha Atomic Research Center, we had a project and we now standardized the requirement of this gamma radiation. What we found, about 50 gray exposure of the pupa, and around 4 to 5 day old pupa will give maximum effective and maximum sterile males. So this sterile insect technique, it was effectively implemented in elsewhere, for example, South Africa, Mexico, and Thailand, to different species, including this Bactrocera dorsalis of mango and Bactrocera cucurbitae. So there is a scope, especially sometimes we think sterile insect technique is successful only in this island habitats. But here, if we take this Konkan region or any other place where we are having a crop islands, means there is a hundreds of acres of mango surrounded by non-mango areas, this technique has a potential. And so through lab and polyhouse level, now studies were conducted, and now there is a scope to take it forward. And we are in collaboration with BARC, we are exploring the possibility of this option, because this is a non-chemical and safe means of, and especially ideal for area-wide management. Next is another important pest is the stone weevil. Again, this is also stone weevil. Of course, here varietal variation is significant. Some late varieties are more susceptible to this stone weevil, and most of this nature of damage is like a fruit fly only. Here also adult weevil lays egg on the pericarp, and the grubs, they will enter and they feed on the seed cotyledons, and the pupation takes place there only. And adult, when it escapes, it will leave its excreta and all. By doing this, it will spoil this pulp, and there will be an exit holes. So here again, this is a problem, especially in pulp making, and is also for the consumer point of view. And there will be a significant extent of the fruit dropping due to this stone weevil. Again, the stone weevil is also like hoppers. It is a specific pest of mango, and it is having a single generation per year. So these stone weevils, they rest on the crop bark junctions, or these tree junctions under the bark. Here also this off-season management is very crucial. So here for this stone weevil, many times, just like crop sanitation, what was suggested for this fruit fly is helpful here also. And in case of like a Neelam, which is highly susceptible, you get even more than 60 to 80% of the stone weevil infestation. So for such cases only, we can go for some chemical interventions. Otherwise, what you give one neem spray for the fruit fly will also help in this stone weevil management also. But here, one important management option is the cleaning the junction of this tree trunk and branches during off season, because adults will be resting there. It will help. And also, whatever the control measures you use for these hoppers or others, please spray on this. Advise the farmers to spray on the tree trunk, and so that adults can be killed. So this is one method. And now I just forgot to mention, this is the stone weevil Sternochytis mangifera, which is prevalent across the country. But there is also another pest like pulp weevil. This is Frugidus species, and presently it is restricted only to the northeastern states, and it is not present in the mainland. So these other parts of the India. So there is a requirement of this domestic quarantine, so that to prevent the further spread of this pest to other parts. Then stem borer. Stem borer, actually, if we see the old literature, stem borer is actually mentioned under a list of minor pests. See, stem borer of late is becoming serious, and we get many phone calls or farmers complaining that trees are drying and wilting. So many times it may be mistaken as a root cause wilt, but on close observation, we can make out that it is due to stem borer damage. And especially as a textbook rule, it is more serious on older trees, more than 10 to 15-year-old. But there are some exceptions. Sometimes even 5-year-old orchards are also getting affected by this stem borer. This is mainly 2 species are present in India, Battosera rufomaculata and rubus. But among this, Battosera rufomaculata is the most predominant one. And here, this beetle generally during May to June, July period, it lays eggs under the bark. So these, once grub emerge, they will enter the stem and they feed. And since this is, again a univolatile pest, means it is 1 generation per year and larval period extends up to 8 to 10 months. So larva remains inside and it keeps on feeding on the stem tissues. So many times early stage infestation goes unnoticed. We can't make out until you can see the top picture where some excreta and stem tissues ooze out. Then only we realize that there is a stem borer infestation. So to manage this pest, okay, before going to manage, some studies we have conducted on this occurrence of its damage. What we found, this spacing has a very predominant effect on this stem borer infestation. See, we had at IHR a plot for different purpose. It was raised with different spacings, with close to wider spacing, starting from 3 by 3 meter spacing, and 2 rootstocks. So what we found, the alpha, and this is more prevalent on Alfonso compared to other varieties. The dense spacing plantation, though tree size was small, they were affected largely by this stem borer compared to other wider spacing. So this is a matter of concern, especially. So people should be very careful while taking high density planting, and they must have an eye on this stem borer infestation. Then what we found, by doing some simple stem wrapping with a nylon mesh, means suppose you are observed one tree affected and where it is oozing out. If we cover the tree with a stem, this wrap, that is mainly to know what species are occurring, and also sometimes we can use it to kill the emerging beetle. See, by stem wrapping, what we observed, besides the regular stem borer, we collected other 3-4 species of these ceramicid beetles. Means there is a complex of borers happening on mango, and with this and also it will also help to know exactly at what time there is an emergence of this beetle takes place. So here what we found, majority the Battosera rufomaculata, and also these others are some minor species, but they are also causing damage. And sometimes the Glinia multigutata is especially damaging the lateral branches compared to the Battosera, which affects mainly the main trunk. So for the stem borer management, we have some measures, some age-old, even we find just injecting with petrol kerosene also once, which was suggested. So that is a curative measure. Once you observe any oozing out and holes, it is better to go for a curative method of injecting. Earlier, we used to recommend this dichlorowas. Since it is now phased out, the alternatively we found chloropyrifos will help. Solution you inject and close it with the sealed mud. And among the injection, what we found, more than you can dip the cotton holes and plug it. That is more effective than sometimes a single time injection, because we really don't know where the larva is. Sometimes hole may be there, but injection liquid goes only downwards. So if larva is in the upper portion, it may not be helpful. If we dip the cotton, and it will be sending the fumes and toxic gas, so that it can kill the larva. But in case of stem borer, more than curative, it is prophylactic, which helps more. Many times, once the tree is affected by the larva, there is a possibility that the tree will lose its productivity and also its lifespan. So, and based on the behavior studies of this beetle, what we found, damage happens in concentrated areas. So if we come across more this damage prone orchards, IHR has come out with a product called Arca borer control. It is a non-chemical compound. This has to be mixed in water and applied on the tree trunk up to 2 to 2.5 feet height, and especially during April, May, because this product is having oviposition deterrent. Means beetle cannot lay egg on the trees coated with this product. So these were established through laboratory studies, and then only through field evaluation and at different centers in farmers' fields we have conducted, and it is very effective. So now we recommend this using this product, especially wherever there is more than 5% borer control. First you control the borer with curative measure, then you apply this so that further new infestation will not be there. So these are, then there is another pest which is more prevalent during the vegetative phase, that is leaf webber. See, this leaf webber actually not a serious pest, but at the same time, if you leave your orchard unattended, it can affect the tree life. So that's why many times when farmer comes, we tell leaf webber is an indicator of your orchard management. Leaf webber is there more prevalent, means the orchard is poorly managed. Farmer is not bothering. So whenever you see this leaf webber, the best method is wherever they are within the reach, manually or physically collect them and destroy them. And only very rarely, especially in young orchards, below 5 years old, if these leaf webbers are there, then only we need to go for these chemical measures. Here also some one contact insecticide is helpful, and if it is very low, we can even manage with the any neem formulation. Then another pest which is more prevalent during this vegetative phase is shoot borer. Shoot borer also is a pest which does not warrant control measures in main field many times. Otherwise, it is more concern during young plantation as well as in the nurseries. So here also, whenever you find any, in case of nurseries or the new plantation, it is better to physically first the affected shoots you remove, destroy, and you can give any spray with any of these chemicals suggested. Then there is another sucking pest, mango mealybug. Most of you are aware. You know, mealybugs of late are becoming serious pests like a papaya mealybug and guava. These mealybugs are very difficult to kill pests because these mealybugs cover their body with this white wax coating, and insecticides cannot penetrate. So that very difficult to bring the management with only chemicals. Here, mango mealybugs, we have two types of mealybugs. One is the giant mealybug, which you see, Droscom mangifera, which is a specific pest of mango, which is more prevalent in this Terai belt, this northern region. And here, mango, these mealybugs lay their eggs in the soil. So these nymphs crawl on the trunk and reach and affect shoots as well as leaves and the fruits. Then another species is the Rastrococcus. What you see on the fruit, the below picture, it is another species. Now, of late, this is becoming more serious in southern India. And these mealybugs, as I suggested, we need to go with some cultural and physical methods, especially to manage this Droscom mangifera, which is a more serious pest. We can rake up the soil, because since the egg laying happens in the soil, and also by having some grease applied, some alkaline bands on the trunk. This is mainly these nymphs, we can prevent them from reaching the top portion. And another, we can spray with the neem seed kernel extract or any neem formulation. Then wherever possible, and if anybody is practicing organic cultivation without insecticide interventions, always biological control is the best for mealybugs, as was proved in the case of papaya mealybug. By releasing these coccinellid predators, Cryptorhimus montijorii, we can manage these mealybugs. So in case of mealybugs, generally it is better to manage with other means, and chemicals come only in the last option. And even if we use some chemicals like buprofezin, we may get some 70 to 80% control, but not the up to more than 90% control. So these are some general pests which occur throughout India. Now there are some, as I was mentioning, mango was considered no lucky crop, that fruit borers were not there, but now fruit borers are also started occurring on this crop. This red-banded caterpillar, this is one borer. Here the characteristic feature of this borer is it is confined to only eastern states, especially eastern districts of Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, West Bengal, and some parts of Uttar Pradesh. This is confined. And this was, though it was a very old pest, but only after this from Andhra Pradesh, Sujata and group, they noticed this pest in the large scale, and then only while monitoring, it was found that it is causing serious damage in these belts. And though it is more than 2 decades, we did not find it in other parts of the Andhra Pradesh or Karnataka or Tamil Nadu. So that way, it is a very welcome thing that this pest has not spread, but still there is a need to check the further spread of this pest. And the characteristic feature of this pest is it lays egg on the pericarp, and the larva enters from the distant end of the fruit. And the lower peak region, you can see the entry hole. That is the characteristic feature of this red-banded caterpillar, and it will go and feed on the seed. And pupation takes place on the tree or crevices or under the bark. You can see that very characteristic this caterpillar, which is having a typical red bands. So this red-banded caterpillar is major pest in all the major varieties of the mango in Orissa as well as West Bengal. So here actually some pheromones were used, and there was some different mixed opinions on the use of pheromones, because this is Dianolis albizinolis. You know, to successful use of pheromones, one species identified is the must. So the pheromones were found to be not as effective as they were thought to be, and they attributed to the wrong identity of the species. So though pheromone traps are being used, they are not very effective, and there is a scope to further have research in this area. And as a corrective measures, we can use recommended insecticides. And also, just like other fruit fly, we can collect and destruct these fallen fruits to manage. And what through our interaction with Dr. YSR Horticulture University scientists is, this borer comes like a, in particular orchard it is very severe, but again in some orchards they are free from. So wherever this type of some endemic belts of this borer infestation is there, we need to have a check and start early management methods. So this I try to cover some pests which are having regular occurrence, and also which were major pests for all along. Now there are some pests now which are emerging, means they have a potential that in future they may become more pests. That is another species of fruit borer. That is Citripestis. What just now I told is a red-banded caterpillar confined to eastern states. This fruit borer Citripestis is now spreading different parts of India. Then thrips. Generally thrips are the polyphagous pests, and they are problem on many fruit and vegetable, especially like grapes and all. So, but on mango, now almost some places the thrips are becoming more severe than the hoppers. So that way these thrips are emerging as a serious pest of mango. Then gall midges. We found, means gall midges are a regular pest on mango, but gall midges on fruit, which were not earlier recorded. And it is a matter of concern, especially in Karnataka, we came across this incidence of gall midges. Then blossom caterpillars, some places these caterpillars are causing the dropping and drying of this inflorescence. Then white grubs, these especially adults feeding on the young plantation and causing the severe defoliation. These are some of the emerging pests. Now this fruit borer, I would like to give some details. This was actually first reported in Andaman, and only in the recently 4 or 5 years back, it was first time found in our survey from Kerala. It was, and afterwards, after 1 or 2 years, we found it in Bangalore also, but the incidence was very, very low, less than 2 to 3%. But when this pest alert was given and different ACRP fruit centers were asked to monitor about this pest, what we found is within the next 3-4 years, the pest has spread across many major belts of mango. Now what we found, this, sorry, why this? Yeah, including Konkan region to Pantnagar to Bhubaneswar. Any problem?
No, sir, please continue. Mr. Nitin Patil, please mute your...
Yeah, this now infestation ranging is going up to 20% in many areas. And so we need to be very cautious about this pest. And among all varieties, Alfonso is the most susceptible variety. And we can see at Bangalore, we found this Alfonso, Totapuri, and Langra were having around 10 or more than 10% damage. And we conducted some trials on the management because wherever farmers come, so since there was no information available on this pest, through our experiment, what we found is any one chemical of indoxacarb or spinosaurum and deltamethrin followed by a second spray with a neem is effective in bringing down this pest, because the time of application is very important. And since that the lemon size we have to start, because by the time we see the symptoms, the crop, the fruit might have matured. And also another characteristic feature of this borer is the mainly fruits in bunches, which are together, there only the damage happens more. The egg laying occurs between the two fruits, and that's why fruits are affected. And we can easily make out. And this can be distinguished from the red-banded caterpillar. Here the damage happens in the middle portion of the fruit, whereas the red-banded caterpillar damage enters from the apex of the fruit. Next, thrips, as I was mentioning. Thrips major crucial period is the flowering time. Both nymphs and adults, they start, and many times hoppers and thrips occur together. And this is that they leave very characteristic brown scratching and branching. See, many times thrips will come, they are highly sensitive to these climatic factors. They come and they cause damage and they may disappear also. But the symptoms they cause, they grow along with the fruit, and the markings will remain on them. And even though fruit is good inside, it will lose its market. So that's how these thrips are also important economic pest. And whatever generally recommended chemicals for hoppers also takes care of this. And we can have some thiamethoxam or fipronil. And this Biopesticide Metarrhizum anisopliae is also effective against thrips, but only thing is we need to give at weekly interval 3 to 4 sprays. So for organic growers, biopesticides are the option to manage these thrips along with hoppers. Then another pest, as I was mentioning, white grub adults. You know, white grubs are serious pest. This grub stage on many crops like sugarcane, groundnut, and many orchard crops. But the adult stage, they feed on many avenue trees. So after what we found, especially after showers, they emerge in large numbers, and they sit in one night and they will defoliate complete a tree. So what we found, these young orchards were affected by these white grubs. So especially with the first showers, especially evening hours, you need to monitor the orchards and manage these white grubs. Then some percent of we came across this tea mosquito bug damage also on this mango young immature fruits. See, tea mosquito bug, when we refer any botany book or somewhere, it is mentioned as one of the hosts of the tea mosquito bug, which is otherwise a major pest of cashew and guava. But tea mosquito bug of late becoming serious pest, and like we found on pomegranate also and anona. So now even on mango also there is a scope that this pest also may cause some damage, and this we need to monitor. As I was mentioning, these are the blossom webbers. We get more than 10 to 12 species of these caterpillars webbing together this inflorescence and causing damage. And another is gall midge and fruit. This in Shimoga district we found for 2-3 years continuously, and damage was up to 10%. But fortunately, we did not find it spreading further. So while transporting or taking these fruits from this type of affected areas, one need to be careful so that it will not spread further, because unlike other, on fruit it comes means that type of characteristic damage it will happen and it will cause economic damage. Then besides this, there are some minor pests which I did not give details. If anybody their area it is problem, we can shed more light on this. For example, like scales. Since it is a perennial tree, many of these scales keep coming. There are several species of scales, hard and soft scales. Another is gall midges, this Procantherinia and all, Eriosmia, and leaves as well as inflorescence comes. Then mites. Some specific times these mites are also happening on the vegetative phase. And shoot gallzilla, this is more prevalent only in northern India. And termites, of course, termites like a leaf webber, this is again only neglected orchards will have these termites and bark eating caterpillar. Those who are following intensive cultivation, these termites and bark eating is not a problem. Then red ants. Red ants, many people encounter these red ants, but red ants are having, different, like they also have some ecological function. They also act as biological control agents or natural enemies of some sucking pests. But when they become too many, especially during harvest season, and it becomes problem. And also sometimes this presence of ants will deter the natural enemies of these mealybugs and other scales. So that way these red ants are having indirect effect. And especially when it is their physical, this removal of their nests and destroying them only is the recommended practice. So in general, when it comes to mango, what are some general tips like a good agricultural practices, like good pest management practices we need to follow? First of all, there is no need to go for calendar sprays. Means without seeing the crop, just December 2 sprays followed by one fungicide, 2 like that. Second thing is same chemical should not be repeated, and we should always advise farmers to use stickers so that for the better efficacy. And especially now the present trend is we rarely see farmers using one insecticide, one fungicide. Now you can see 2 insecticides, one fungicide, one some biocompound, some hormone, like that. Minimum 4 to 5 chemicals they spray, and many times they don't know what is the role of the particular chemical they are using. Many times they are advised by the pesticide dealers or some other somebody. So we need to educate. Simply it will either enhance the cost of production, and also sometimes it may also act as an antagonistic, and it may reduce the bioefficacy of the main pesticide. Then this mango, since pollinators is an important component, we should not spray during the peak bloom period, and also strictly adhere to the safe weight, especially for this fruit borers and fruit fly. If at all anybody is going for any chemical spray, they must adhere to the waiting period, and they should not spray very close to the harvesting time. Then some of the new areas of the research coming up, this pheromone and chiromone, for example. Now for fruit fly, there is only a male attractant. Now from Israel, one firm has developed the female attractant also. Even our own institute research is going on in developing the female attractant of this. If it comes, it would be an excellent thing, so that through pheromones only we can manage these fruit flies. As I mentioned earlier, sterile insect technique is one emerging area. Then this nano-based interventions, of course, still at theoretical stage, but it may go ahead, especially in the use of these pheromones. Then what are the major problems and challenges in this pest management, either mango or any other crop, is biotypes and critic species. Means many times we may be thinking that particular pest is one species. As I mentioned, one example is the failure of the pheromones for mango fruit borer, because in the Dianolis genus there are two species. What people used, and we have one regional station in Bhubaneswar. Entomologists there, they conducted 2-3 years regular experiments. They found the pheromone was used for some other species of Dianolis, and what it is present in our country is different. That's why this pheromone is not effective. So we need to be very clear about the species identity. Then shift in pest status and also the invasive species of different. Though on mango it is not there, but different horticulture crops we are getting many invasive species, and due to the change in the weather and climate parameters and insecticide resistance. Now, before winding up, and since pollinators is also my area of interest, and also as a farm manager or as an entomologist or as a research person working on mango, one should also be aware that role of pollinators in the mango production. Just briefly, I will tell 1 or 2 slides. Mango attracts a large number of insects, in that bees and flies are the major group of the pollinators. What our experience show, this little bee, Apis florea, this is the dominant forager, followed by dipterans, especially this blue bottle fly, we say Chrysomia megacephala. These are the major dominant pollinators of mango, and we need to conserve them. And field surveys, what we found, many of these commercial orchards, the population of these pollinators is very, very low. Many times, though you have a profuse flowering, you may not have the corresponding fruit set, which can be attributed to lack of pollinators. Because we have established very clearly that if we exclude insects, there is a 80 to 90% reduction in the fruit set in different varieties. So one simple method we devise, just this having some bottle trap with a fish meal, a fish wet fish piece with this sand, you erect them just before the flowering starting time. It will attract a lot of this Chrysomia megacephala, and they multiply. And once the flowering is over, you have to remove this trap so that you can enhance their numbers in the field. Because many times it is not practicable or not economical to have honeybee boxes. And also what we found, these hive bees like Apis cerana or European bee Apis mellifera, they are not as many numbers than these dipterans in the mango pollination. So instead of waiting or spending money on this, we can have some conservation of this native native species of these pollinators in the orchard itself. So these are the things I thought of sharing with you. These are my contact details. And anyway, I know since mango entomology is a broad topic, so I try to cover as much as possible in the given time. And now I will be happy if you have any questions, and also in future also you can be in touch with me through my number and email. I will be happy to clarify and also to learn from you or new problems if any. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful presentation. I request
Dr. Reddy, thank you very much for your very explanation was superb. We learned a lot. This is what exactly expected from the farmers. Very kind of you for spending your time.
Thank you, sir.
So kindly stop sharing your slides, sir, please.
So good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm Dr. Kaladar from Horticulture University, Telangana.
Yeah, please tell.
Sir, actually, recently we came to know that these neonicotinoid insects are harmful to honeybees.
Yes.
So what are the safe insecticides we can recommend to farmers, sir?
Yeah, first of all, let me tell you, there is no safe insecticide as far as synthetic insecticides are concerned to honeybees or any pollinator. So only this in our advice only we need to give, because many times, especially for hopper and thrips management, imidacloprid and other neonicotinoids are one of the recommendations. So you advise farmers, these many times this hopper infestation comes with the onset of bud stage. So if at all needed, only by managing the timing only you can, and as on date, there is no absolutely safe, but there are safe alternatives like neem product and also entomopathogens. But many times all farmers may not be interested, and if the pest incidence is too high, so you can ask them to change their spraying pattern and not to spray in the, especially the crucial time is this 20 to 25 days peak flowering time. They should not spray any insecticide, neither safe or nor harmful. That is the better way of conserving the pollinators. And many times it need not start with the imidacloprid or any spray. First, they can go with neem soap or and also this metarhizium formulations I told, they are also safe and also they are effective for these hoppers.
So what about this green labeled?
Hello.
See,
sir?
green label. See, this green label, these labels are allotted, you may be aware, based on their mammalian toxicity, not to their safety to other insects. Majority of these green label insects are also harmful to honeybees. So you cannot conclude that all green label are safer to insects or honeybees. Of course, compared to OP compounds, these some green label are relatively safe, but you cannot think that just because they are safe and they can go for spraying.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Kindly stop sharing the screen, sir, so that all participants can view you. Yes, Dr. Satnarayan.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah.
Congratulations, sir. It was a very enlightening speech
Thank
from
you.
yours. Sir, there are situations like wherein we, apart from the major pests that you talked about, we also had an opportunity to visit the plot wherein there's the heavy infestation of the asheville, the Melissa species. Okay. And what is the best control that you suggest, sir? As per your
Sorry,
experience?
I did not get clarity of the question. Someone can tell you.
Satnarayan, please wait. Sir, he was asking, we have a serious problem of this asheville, especially
Asheville, okay.
in nursery. We have encountered since 4 to 5 years, it is there in the nursery, but luckily it has not spread to the outside plantation. That's the question from Dr. Satnarayan.
Yes, yeah, for nursery, yes, we get many these leaf feeders. And ashevils, Gawa and all also it will come. They are not very difficult to control. If this, you can give any contact insecticide or a neem formulation, with that you can manage. But what you get another like brinjal ash weevil, where root damage causes, they are different. But here, defoliating ash weevil, you can manage with 1 or 2 chemical or botanical interventions, especially in nurseries.
Since it is a coleoptile insect, once I repeat. Sir, they have in fact tried the Metarhizium anisopliae also, sir. That's the entomopathogenic fungi. The control has not been the very comprehensive control. The acceptable control has not been achieved, sir. So that's a question. That's the reason that I asked the question.
Especially, see, whenever it comes to this microbial pesticides, it goes with many factors. Means the product, what you use, whether it is having the desired CFU or what. Second, many times these are not effective when the temperature is above 38 to 39 degrees centigrade. They will disintegrate fast at high temperature. So you should apply them in the cooler areas. Second thing, unlike insecticide, their action is slow. Means you will not get quick knockdown effect within 3-4 days. They have to infect the hoppers or any target pest. So generally, this metarhizium or any other biopest has to be sprayed back to back at closer interval, at least 2 to 3 sprays. So that's why we many times exclusive biopesticides recommend for this. Those who are intent to have this organic cultivation and those who expect a premium price for their produce, they have a lot of scope.
Sir, one more question, so if you don't mind, there is a product from the Syngenta, so that is a Verteco. Okay, that's a complex product which includes like chlorantum nitrichlor, that is a Rynaxypyr chemical name, and apart from that, it also has the thiamethoxam. Can this be recommended for controlling the stem borers? because it is both the contact as well as the
Stem borers, huh?
because that is a the granular product that is. So,
But how for mango stem borer you are putting in the hole?
no, we have not tried, but can we? I mean, like, did you have the opportunity?
No, we have not tried. We have not tried.
Vorteco, that's a combi product from the Syngenta, so the multinational.
Okay. We can see that.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, myself is Prasad Kumar Nanda, working as scientist plant protection in KVK Keonjhar, Odisha.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Sir, can we go for this Metrorrhagia anisopliae powder formulation against the mango inflorescence hoppers?
Yeah, further formulation also you can go. See, formulation doesn't matter. But what we found, this oil form, liquid formulation is more effective. Why? Because maybe from the manufacturer point of view, you can conserve this CFU and storage life, and also in the liquid formulation compared to powder formulation.
Yes, sir. Here in Keonjhar, actually in Odisha also, this liquid formulation is not available. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, you can see formulation does not play much role as long as they are having a required number of CFU, and the particular strain they are using is having the virulence.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Reddy, I got a question. Could you
Yeah.
please explain about powder mildew? In case of powder mildew, what is the precautions to be taken?
Yeah, first of all, I will tell briefly, but next speaker, I think afternoon, Dr. Sriram, pathologist from our institute, he is the right person to clarify you. But powder mildew, many times hopper and powder mildew come together.
Okay.
So at early stage when the temperatures are not high, the wettable sulfur is the cheapest means. Otherwise, hexaconazole and other fungicides are there, which are good for the powder mildew. And I think please keep login. Dr. Sriram will clarify on that.
Sure. Thank you very much, sir. Very kind of you. It was
Thank
very enthusiastic lecture. Very meaningful. It was very good. Thank you very much.
Any queries from the other participant? So there are any no more queries, means just I do have some this small question, sir. So in fact, it was a very wonderful presentation from your side, and it was very much informative. The second thing is, I think so it is a high time to attend the various issues related to pest again. So in that context, I think it is very much useful to the even farming community. So my question is, so nowadays we have been encouraging this beekeeping in our plantations, which is in the process of food set, all those things, and in turn it will help in improving the yield, all those things. And so parallelly we are also encouraging some spray schedules also. So which is the high time to take up these spray schedules by protecting the
yeah, just now I was answering other person. See, these honeybees are very sensitive to this any insecticide. Means they need not come in direct contact with the chemical. Even the drift, or sometimes when they come to collect the pollen and nectar, if already having some insecticide deposits, once they collect and go back to their hive, so their damage can happen later also. They will die. So here two ways. Honeybees are introduced exclusively for that particular period for the pollination purpose, or if beekeepers are separate and farmers are separate, mainly they can adjust timing of the spraying. Okay, especially to see the honeybees are more active in the morning hours, and also mango anthesis happens in the morning hours. So that is the crucial period for pollination also, and for the honeybees collecting the pollen and nectar. So if at all, as our standing instruction goes, do not resort to any spray when the flowering is has crossed more than 40 to 50% in a tree. Please stop, because whatever spray you are supposed to take for hoppers and powdery mildew, you should have taken before that, and you leave that gap if at all. But if farmers and beekeepers' interests are different, if some farmer is very particular that they have to take up, so by adjusting this timing spray, and also if any in the same orchard spraying is happening, you have to shift your bees at least for 2 days, 3 days to distant place. Otherwise, these are going to cause some loss to the honeybees.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I think so. We have to come to end of this first session of the second day of this particular.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And I'm very much thankful to you, sir, for readily accepting our invitation to deliver this lecture on this insect pest management in mango. And so it was very much, in fact, it was very much useful to all scientific fraternity as well as for the farming community to attend the various issues related to this. So I, on behalf of University of Horticulture Sciences, Bagalkot and College of Horticulture, Bidar and organizing team, I profusely convey my thanks for being with us and sharing your valuable time with us. Sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
So and so next, so again, so we'll have the second session at 2 p.m. I request all the participants to join at 2 p.m. So again, our main speakers in the second session of second day is so Dr. Sriram, so principal scientist from again Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, Bangalore, and Dr. This Jagannath PSK. He is going to deliver on this retail chain management. So I request all the these participants to join sharply at 2 p.m. so that we can schedule on time, and followed by again, so we'll have the valedictory program as well, right? So thank you one and all for your patience participation in this particular webinar. Thank you one and all.